This conference will now be recorded.
So I'll just create the resource group very quickly. We need 3 VMs, one for the domain controller, other two for the SQL. So I need to create 3 virtual machines. So I'm starting early because these are all known things to everyone. AD, ADVM 01, I'll make it like that. Come on. What happened? Anything wrong with the portal or what? What? I'll just reload, guys. Oh, I'm not sure why it is just hanging there itself. ADVM 01. South India, 16 data center, and I'll go with 2 CPUs and 4 GB RAM. Right, I need to create one network, guys, so I did not create it, I guess. I'll do it on the fly. Let me create network first, because this will come with a structured way so that you'll understand well. I'll make it as AGVNet, and at the space I'll pick up AD subnet. I'll make like this. This is the first. I'm picking up that subnet for the AD, and I'll create one more subnet for the sequels. Make 2.0. Keep it away. So we just created a network and we added 2 subnets in it. So now I'm going to create the virtual machines. We need 3 virtual machines, one for the domain, 2 for the SQL. So this is a bit lengthy lab, guys. Just have some patience, actually. Opening the RDP port, a disk, somehow we need standard networking. This is important for us. So it is in ID subnet. That is okay. It is in where it has to be. Management, all this we know, right? Right. Now I'll create AG, SQL VMs. So one thing you need to know, like whenever we have to create more than one server for any product, any for this purpose, like you have to introduce availability set. That is very, very important. SQL VM 01. So this was discussed already. So here availability set is important for us. Without that, we cannot configure it. Why? Because we are going to configure always on. So if one node goes down, other node will take up the load. So two nodes are doing the same job, but it is giving the availability for us. So whenever you introduce more than one server for any technology for the same purpose, availability set is mandatory. So availability set protects the server to not to go into the same rack. SQL VM AV set, something like that. This has been discussed, and that is very, very important. This must be in the SQL subnet, the rest all fine. Availability set is mandatory, same availability set, because both the VMs are going to part of the same AG group. Come on.
Ravinder, a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you said like on the like these days using use of Ubuntu is like being implemented since it has a lot of efficiency that you have said.
Mhm, mhm.
So any live scenario that you have seen of it, or like um,
Actually, not yet. We have implemented things in the, like pre-prod, and people
okay,
tested performance-wise. Like it is a really, boosting performance. They got it. Thing
Okay.
is, they cannot turn all the .NET into the Java applications. Basically, OS related, it has a dependency. So thing
Oh,
is, they had to rewrite the code for make the applications compatibility. So that's why market will move slowly. Overnight, they cannot move it, but it will happen. It will take some time for sure. So we
okay.
have tested, we have just tested, and we have shown that it is giving really good performance. So that's where we ended up. So, but we will implement soon. That is a plan, is in pipeline. So that's why I'm asking everyone to, try to learn Linux as well. Maybe in the future I'll start the, classes out the complete administration on the Linux, SQL administration, configuring, managing, maintaining, securing, performance tuning, and environment. So all that basic stuff, and that won't be like too big, like 10 to 12 classes kind of. We already done, but let's see. That's not now. The market is not yet ready for all changes. Maybe, definitely it will happen because of the OS charges. We are avoiding the OS charge at least, The Windows server is actually chargeable. If you run on the Linux, at least you are avoiding the OS charge. You're only paying for the product where you save your money. But like business is important than money for the people. So to make the changes, it definitely requires some extra effort, extra people, all that. Business need to take that commitment.
Okay, Ravinder. Thank you.
Yeah, it will happen. That's why, be on top of the, trend always to get the good opportunities in the market. You will be paid like anything. Whatever you ask, they will give. Thing is, you need to be on top of the technologies. Future is all about the multi-profiles. Single profile, no more entertain. Better to be diversify your profile. So keep one, target every year one technology. You work that way, it will easy for you. Don't divert. There will be many diversions in the year. You choose one good technology and sit on it for a year and get the expertise, and then move to the next one. It's like that. Don't actually. There will be many recommendations from many people like do this kind of. That will divert you a lot. But choose one good technology and then sit on that. That's what I do. So I know many technologies because of that itself, I would say. Data engineer, you mean to say Hadoop and all?
Not exactly Hadoop, but some part of ETL and some part of coding also.
Whatever it is, I'm trying to say here is
Update
related to
your.
your, you update yourself related to the technologies and which is valid. Just,
Yeah.
first research what you're trying to learn, whether that has a, like life or not, and then go with it
Okay.
like that. That's what I'm trying to say here. So, not only this and that, but wherever you are, whatever you're doing. So
Okay.
spend some time. Where it is? Here it is. So year-wise, I would suggest, that's what I do follow, and it'll make us our life easy. Don't pressurize, and a year is more than enough to learn technology. I definitely feel it's already late. I mean, market is already started uh, asking multi-profile. If we go to only SQL or only anything, it's tough to get the job because competition is high in the market. Azure cloud is one more booming technology. Maybe this is going to be rock in the near future because Reliance is also they are actually like whole India Azure infrastructure they are actually taking lease and Reliance will send the Azure cloud to the people in India, and they'll make it cheap. Maybe it is going to boom like anything near future. Okay, fine. So first, what I have to do, let me disable this. A lot of things we need to do before go into the configuration. So be patient enough. So I'll add the domain features because it's a domain server. This is another issue, guys. VMs will be slow. We need to have a lot of patience. Why did I close that? Okay, this is opened up, so I'm going to add domain services to the server, ADVM01. So Active Directory Domain Services and DNS. Two things are required for configuring the domain. So DNS server, these two features are required. So I'm going to install both of them here. Right now you see only dashboard, local server, all services, all that. Once this is done, I'll also install failover clustering. Why? Because, oh, not here. We don't need that. We need another two machines. Right. This will take some time. Yeah, this has gone. Actually, I'm going to install 2014. So 2016 also we can do, but we need SMA separately, SQL Server separately. That's something going to take really long. So I'm going to apply failover cluster. I'm going to apply .NET Framework 3.5. If you wanted to install 2014, you need 3.5. Let's see, domain still going on. This. Okay. Now what I'll do, I'll download the skill setups on both of these servers to not waste time. It's not starting the download. Things are slow, guys. You need to have patience here. Come on, wake up. this is done. Sorry guys. Okay. When this is going on, this would take some time somehow. It's moving really fast. Good enough. This it's dying already there. Okay, this is has been installed. Close it. Now I'm going to see there is a two services extra, ADDS and DNS. We Active Directory Domain Services and Domain Naming Service. There are two services we installed. Now I'm going to make this as domain server. Click on this flag. There is a flag kind of thing. This one. Click on this. You'll get the option called promote this server to a domain controller. Let's do it. Okay, I'm going to build SQLDBA.com domain. Okay, sorry, new. It's a new add domain controller existing. We don't have add to the existing forest. No, it is a new. Basically, it's a new forest. SQLDBA.com new domain in the sense. So it is required a recovery password for the Windows. This password is very important. So come on. This must be saved somewhere securely. So it's checking for that skldb.com is available or not in the current machines, VM machines. If it is already claimed, it will throw the error. It is installing in this directories, that's fine. There would be some warnings, we can skip that warnings. Okay, well, is it installed? So this would take some time. So when that is happening, let's see what's going with these VMs. Oh God, it's still like completed. If it is completed, I'll install SQL Server. Standalone installations, guys. For AG, you have to install on both the machines. Standalone installations. I'm going to configure the service accounts later on. For right now, I'm just installing it. What's wrong with this VM? Come on. What happened? It's not even started. Okay, so this is taking time. That domain so has been rebooted. That's fine. Let's trigger the installations. Then I'll come to that. This is going to take some time. Uh, Seriously. If the VMs are like this, it will be bit tough to move fast. Yes, we have to. We'll do that. This evaluation edition. Hit next and accept the license and terms and conditions. We'll go with the default directory C drive itself. But in the real time, we'll have data drive, log drive, temp drive, all that. So we all know how to install, right? Oh, what did I do? So I'll just choose the replication and SMS. That's it. We don't want any other things. Default instance. Agent is an automatic. I'll keep it. The service accounts we will do later on. So I'm going to install this in the mixer mode. So I'm giving this a password. This is very important for us. I'm adding my account as a local admin. I'm into the SQL Server as an admin. Alright, so data directories, I'm going with the defaults, but in real time we'll have a different data and data file, log file, tempdb, all that. So keep that in mind. So hit next and install. What about this node? Please come up. Hmm, What this is dying, I don't understand. Oh, 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 oh. Many open editor. We have downloaded twice. Really bad then. Yeah, just a minute, guys. I'll be back in a minute. Just a minute.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, let's do the installation here as well. Right. Okay. So let this happen. Both will take time somehow. Oh, not started. Okay. So let's connect to the domain now. So we created AD server. AD server is now domain server because we added SQL DBA. So now I don't use local accounts anymore. I'll go with the domain. The domain what we have configured is SQL DBA. Right. Just now I configured SQL DBA. Okay. Then I am logging with my account, domain account basically. So before we did not use the domain, now I'm using the domain because it's been configured. See, it is allowing the domain account. So we needed domain accounts to configure the AG. Without a domain account, we cannot do it. So let's configure the SQL service accounts as well as one domain account as a SQL DBA. SQL DBA account, what permissions we'll have at domain level, I'll talk about all of that. Go to tools after domain configuration and log in with the domain account. Go to tools. There is an option called like Active Directory domain controller center, something kind of. Let's just open up. You don't do all this stuff, but I'm just discussing to make you understand. What happened? Hmm. There is no great usage. Why it is dying? It's just loading it, guys. Let it load up properly. So this is on Active Directory Administrative Center. So we need to go to there to create the service accounts as well as account with a extra privilege to create the objects. Okay, SQL DBA and new user SQL service 1. This is for the first server. Password should not expire because this is something service account. Service account password should not expire. Okay. Okay. I'll create one more. I'll create one more account for our AD admin. I'll use this account as a SQL DBA. Assume a case we are a SQL DBA and we are using this account. So what privilege will give it? I'll explain this. Now we created 3 accounts basically. See a service 1, service 2, and there is one more login called AD admin. Here it is. Just a minute. So this account we need to give extra privilege. So to give that extra privilege, go to the properties and extensions, add, and the principal is AD admin. Check that. Now,
Now audible.
okay, advanced, add, select principal. You don't do all this for sure. I'm giving an extra permissions to AD admin to create an object, to create computer object and domain level. This is the rights we will have with the SQL admin in the real time. When you configure listener will create a domain object in the AD server. So To create that AD object, you need to have create computer object permission. Okay, this permission should be there to the account, to SQL DB account basically. If you don't have this, you cannot configure the cluster, you cannot configure the AG, all that. So we will hold this permission. So I'm giving that permission to that account. Fine, we are done with it. So over this color 2 and all. Now what I'll do, let's see where these installations are. So auto finish. This is succeeded, good enough. So in order to use the domain accounts in these machines, first this machine should be part of the domain, right? So this is not yet joined into the domain. These are actually work group machines, standalone machines. Oh, what did I do? First, the machine should be joined to the domain, then you can add the machine into the domain. That's how it is. So here if you look at work group, it should not be work group, it should be a domain basically. SQLDBA.com it should be. So in order to join into the domain, we need to update the DNS IP. Let's see where. Is it finished or is cancelled? Oh, it's still going on. Fine. So let's go to domain server and find the IP of this server. This is very, very important step, especially. If you do update wrong domain IP, then machine will not respond. You're gone. All configuration. So the domain server IP is 172.16.1.4. So I need to update that in the DNS record. In this server, I'll update here. Why? Because installation is done here. It won't. You make sure that installation should not be in progress. Go to IPv4 section and properties and TCP IP4 properties. Yes, this is where you need to update DNS. Use the following DNS. If you update this, then only it can interact with the domain, else it won't. So 172.16.1.4, it must be exactly correct. If not, your machine will not respond. As soon as I update this, machine will not responsive anymore. It will reboot. It require a reboot. So this is very, very important step, especially. See, it became unresponsive. I cannot do anything with this machine anymore. I need to reboot it. Let's finish it up. Let's finish and then update. I'll update the IP here as well. Because if it is going on, if I update the IP, then this setup cannot be proceeded further. Still taking time. Come on. Recording is going on, right? Let that finish, guys. Without that, we cannot do anything. Right, it is done. Good enough. Now I'll go to here. First you need to do this. If not, machine will not join to the domain. 172.16.1.4. If this is wrong, I have whatever I have done, all work is wasted. Right, I need to reboot these machines to reconnect. So without that, it won't connect. So both of these machines, I'll just restart. So now if I go back to this, tools, Active Directory domain and users computers. Here you don't have any computers because no computer is joined the domain yet. So here if we go to computers, sorry, here you don't have any computer, just a blank domain it is right now. So I'm going to add these two machines right away. Restart won't take too long in the cloud. Should have been done. So I need to log in locally first to add that server into the domain. Come on. Start all that. Now I'll add these machines into the domain. What's happening with these machines? Now I'll add this server into the domain. It's possible. Why? Because we updated a DNS card with a domain IP address. Go to the work group and change and domain. Domain is sqldba.com. So to add into the domain, you need to have a domain administrative right. So I have the domain administrator because I have configured it. So you don't have rights in the real time this thing. Only Windows guys will have these rights. For the sake of discussion I am discussing all this. Right. So it required a reboot to take that effect. Next, this. I guess people are following. Alright. So now if you refresh here, the computers will be showed up here. Why? Because we added them into the domain. See here, it's like that. So now these are domain computers. You can log in with the domain account into the server. So so I'll connect to the server with the domain account, not with any more local accounts. Sorry guys, my throat is not well. I mean, I'm having throat issue, I guess. Configuring remote sessions still taking time. Alright, so now I don't have to go with the local account, so I'll go with the domain administrative rights account. So SQL DBA / Ravinder, and I'll keep my password. Here also I'll go with the domain account. Now we are done with environment configuration. Let's do the actual configuration now. Configuring the Windows cluster group, configuring the, like all that we'll see. Again, service accounts also should be updated. So here, whichever it is, VM01, fine. Here we need to add the accounts in the local admin, computer management. What accounts I need to add? I need to add the service accounts as well as our SQL account groups. This is must be mandatory local group, else we cannot do the admin operations because we are not domain admins. To get the admin rights on the machines level. SQL service 1 as well as SQL service 2. We need to add all of these accounts to local. By default, in the real time, all these will come. AD admin, I guess I have configured ours. Right. So you need to add them into local. Right, it is done. Here also I need to do the same thing. Once this is done, then I don't need to use the domain administrator account credentials anymore. So SQL service 1, SQL service 2, and AD admin. Right. So our accounts will be local administrator on all servers, basically, wherever we have to install the SQL setups. Okay. Service accounts also should be part of the local administrator group that we will add it actually before the installation. Okay, now I'll log off. I don't need these accounts anymore. I'm a domain administrator. So we're done. Let's go with the my account. My account is AD admin account. That account can do anything now related to our configuration. So I'll log in with SQL DBA AD admin and password. Fine. So this is where you start up, guys. This is are the prerequisites what we have built. Now I'll configure the Windows cluster, all that. So we are starting the actual configuration now. Right, I have to configure the failover cluster. We already installed the failover cluster feature already. If you remember, in the beginning itself, we have installed failover cluster tool. Let it load up properly, else it will die. So this something is moving, right? Okay, it is loaded, it seems. So failover cluster manager. We have installed this. Let's do this. So the tool should be available in the both the servers. So here also we installed actually. Come on. I don't know why this is a small plugin. It should never hung actually, but 4 GB is quite sufficient to do this. Right. So you have the tool in both the servers. Just a plain tool at the moment. Okay. Nothing you have. You are going to create a cluster. So you can click on this create a cluster, or else you can also right click on this and create a cluster. Anything is okay. Hit next. So here in on-prem, we will add both the nodes to configure the AG cluster at the same time. I mean Windows cluster, not AG cluster, Windows cluster. But here you cannot add both. You have to add one first. Then you can add the next one. So why it is so I'll explain. So SQL VM01, I'll use that. SQL VM01 first, add it. So it will search for the server from the domain and get it. Hit next. And we don't want to run the validation because it's not clustered, it's just standalone, right? So we are not adding the clustered storage basically. That's why we can skip this option. We can go with I do not require support from Microsoft and for form. You know, no need to run the validation test. Hit next. And cluster group name. It is asking a Windows cluster group name. Wind AG group. I'll make like this. Wind AG group. So this is an object. It will go into. It will create in the domain basically. Wind AG group. Hit next. So in the on-premise, it here it will ask us to enter the IP, but it is not asking us to enter the IP. So this is a DNS, DHCP. It is automatically taking from the DHCP basically. So see a DHCP address on this. So it will pick up the machine IP. That's the problem with the cloud VMs. The automatically the physical machine IP it will pick up. So manually we have to change that IP and then bring it online. So this is a different story. Let this finish. I'll explain. In the on-prem, we will add both the nodes. It will ask us to add a IP also. Finish. So once you finish, you created a cluster object now. This is a cluster object. If you expand the cluster object, it is picked up the machine IP by default. By default, it will pick up the machine IP. That's the drawback. Come on. So 2.4. If you look at this, 2.4. So what I have to do, go to that and pick up some new IP, static IP. So here I'll give 2.4 something, not 4, 6, 7 something. Apply, bring it online. Service, Windows service. It will come online. Why? Because you added a valid IP. Now, if I go back to the domain, if I look at it, it will create an object called wind AG something we given, right? So here wind AG group. This is a computer object. It is created through our AD admin account. So it is created because we have given create permission. Okay, if not, this will fail. You cannot configure this if you don't give that permission. That is very important permission. Okay, now we configured single node Windows cluster. So if you go to here, you have only one node. Okay, now if I go back to the VM02 SQL VM02, here you will have this fellow cluster tool, but you don't have anything Windows group and all. So to add this machine into the group, what do you have to do? Come to the first one, add a node. Very simple. Hit next and SQL VM02 add. Once you add, it will get added automatically. Nothing you have to do. That's it. It will be joined. The tool also will, this configuration will apply to that machine as well. You don't need to do there. Why? Because you added the machine into the configuration. It will pick up this configuration there. Finished. So if I come back to the SQL VM02, here you will find the object. Come on. Okay, let's reopen. Same configuration it will show because it's part of the cluster now. Whatever you do, it apply to the cluster. Cluster tool is a common. Why? Because you joined into the cluster, the machines. So whatever you do the change on the cluster level, it will apply to both the machines. What happened? This is successful, right? Hmm. Why we need to connect manually? It should show up here. We can connect actually. Okay, it is came up, right. So now it is applied. If you configure there, it is applied here it as well. The same thing it will show up here as well. So now in order to configure SQL AG group, then you need to update the first, let me do this. You need to update the domain accounts. Windows cluster is done. That's it. First, I need to change the service accounts. I need to pick up the domain SQL service 1 and its password. This is mandatory. If you don't do this, you cannot form the SQL AG. So SQL service must be running under domain account. Fine. Agent is fine. Even if it is running locally also, it doesn't matter much. Right, we are done. So let's connect to the SQL Server now. Can I connect actually? No, I cannot connect. Why? Because I, I installed SQL Server using the local account, local administrator account. Now I am going with the SQL DBA admin account. So we have installed SQL Server in a mixed mode. I have this account password. So through that we can recover this. The same thing I have to do here as well. Okay, I don't need this connection anymore. All right, let's do this now. SQL AG configuration. So now we come here, it is not enabled. So what we have to do, this feature is not enabled. When you're clicking itself, it will tell you what you have to do. So if I click on this, always on feature must be enabled for the service before you can create availability group on the instance. To enable the always on, open the SQL Server Configuration Manager, select the SQL Server service and right click on it and then select the properties, then always on availability tab. So what it is saying, go to this tool and go to the service and write properties under this availability set, enable this option and apply, restart the service. That is what it is saying. So as a first thing, you have to do this in the availability configuration. You have to enable the feature at service level. So then only you can do this. So if you are doing this, any changes made will be saved. However, they will not take into effect till you restart the service. So you need to restart the service for that. right? Next, let's move to the here, and then let's configure this. See, now if I refresh, it will open up like this. Okay, new availability group. Before I do this, I need at least one database on server, at least one. I'll create one test database, and that database must have the full backup, at least one full backup. Without one database, you cannot configure the AG. It's mandatory to create at least a test database if you don't have any database on server. And one full backup must be mandatory. Okay. And also you need a network storage account where you can take the backups basically. So I'm going to create one network share very quickly and share this backup with everyone. When you do in the real time, do this way. It will not give you any error. Go to sharing, share, and share with everyone and give the read rights to everyone. Then you never get a problem. So share like this and use this for the backups. So now let's do it again, not to confuse you. I created a network share, I created a database and took the backups. Now I'm doing the high availability group, hit next. Here you have to give the SQL AG group name. It's not a listener. That was this was a cluster group name. This is a cluster group name. Now we are giving the SQL AG group name. So SQL AG group. I'll make it the same way. Fine. So you have one database to add into the at least one mandatory. Without this, it will not let you to do. Select that, and then what is your secondary? You need to connect to secondary. So I got this point. I need to do something for that. There will be no connectivity because firewall is blocking that. There is a firewall. This is enabled after domain configuration. Now it will work. I'm adding the secondary node. So now it is added. And you want the automatic failover, and you also, there are three options, guys. One is here, you wanted to, no means you cannot read secondary, so you cannot do anything with the secondary. It's just a recovery node. Like if in case of primary goes down or goes unavailable, secondary will take up the load. That is only the purpose. If I go with read intent only, applications can read the data from the databases. We cannot read from the database, but application can read directly. If it is yes, you can take the backups. You can do the DBCC check DBs, and you can run the read queries, all that. Three things you can do: read, take the backups, and you can also do the database integrity check from the secondaries. This is what it is. So failover, automatic failover, and synchronous it must be. When synchronous only, then only automatic failover. Fan check, like this can be gone. Okay. If I have to do the automatic failover, it is automatically selected. Why? Automatic failover can happen only it is synchronous commit. It is asynchronous, you cannot do it. So that's mandatory. So nothing you have to do in endpoints, it will configure its own endpoints. If at all you wanted to change the endpoints, you can change it actually, but we will go with the default. So here prefer secondary for the backup. Secondary only is not good, primary is also not good, any replica is also fine. Secondary only means you can take the second backup on secondary only. If secondary is down, you cannot take the backup. Primary, take the backup on the primary, is not good. Prefer secondary. Prefer secondary means take the backup on secondary. If secondary is not available, take the primary also. Even secondary is available, you can take the backup on the primary also. Anywhere you can take. Any replica is almost all same. So we will use this in the real time. This is very tricky. in the real time, we will give the DNS name like name, listener port, listener IP, all that. But here we don't do that. We cannot do that. It won't work in the cloud like that. You just say that do not configure the availability group listener. Availability group listener comes through the load balancer only. It is not from the this method in the cloud. That is the biggest difference in the cloud in the AG configuration. Use the first option. I'll explain how to do that. Now we created a network share, right? Oh, we created this network share just now. I need to use that network share for database sync up, initial data sync up. So it will give the warning about the listener. Listener we did not configure. That's fine. Next, finish. So now if I go back to the cluster roles, you will see the SQL AG group kind of. See, this is the SQL binder it is. It's not listener. Okay. So SQL group name that is. So it is done. It is configured successfully. But see, there are two nodes now. One primary, one secondary databases. But listener is the one we need. Why? Because applications should hit always the primary. Though the failovers happens in the background, application should not know that there isn't a failover. Listener is mandatory in the AG group so that which can automatically point to the primary, though the failovers happens in the background. So for the listener, you cannot do from there. You had to configure the load balancer. It comes to the load balancer only. Very simple, no need to worry. I'll give the complete steps. I have the steps here mentioned. Whatever I have done, I have the steps here. I'll send it across. So load balancer. So resource group, and I'll make this as SQLLB, SQLLB, and it is internal load balancer. Why? Because it is connectivity is internal only, and SKU is basic because machines are also created in the basic SKU. Virtual network. What is the virtual network you wanted to add? So you need to give the same location. That's why it's not showing up. South India. This will be in the AGVNet and it must be under a SQL subnet. And you wanted to give a static IP? Yes, we can give it. 170.16.2.10. Let me give that. If I trying to give 2.4, it will throw the error. This IP is already been used by this here, used by the IP configuration network interface. So we cannot use that. I'm going to with available IP. So this is all about it. You know that load balancer we done many a times during the initial configurations when I was discussing about networking. Load balancer name and region, internal load balancer basic, and then what's VNet, what subnet, and IP from that subnet. Create. That's it. Creation of load balancer is we know it is straightforward. Nothing much fancy in that. Now come to this. There is something called you can use the you can bind the load balancer and AG listener through the what I would say through PowerShell script only. There is no wizard for that. I'll explain that. No need to worry. Come to here. Here, this is the one. This is the one which will have the listener name actually under it. So we did not create a listener. That's why it doesn't have anything. So I have to create a service. Go to that. Add resource. Add client access point. Add resource. Add client access point. Here I'm going to give the listener name. SQLAG. I'll just make it as SQLAG is the listener name. Hit next. So it should ask an IP, but it doesn't ask, and it will pick up the machine IP. So that's fine. Now if I go to here SQLAG, it is offline. Why it is offline actually? It doesn't have an IP first. So I'm going to allocate the IP. The IP must be the IP of the load balancer. That is the thing you have to update. Very important for this. So 170.16.2.10 apply. Right. Now if you bring it online, it will come up online. And this is the listener name for us. But this and load balancer is not tied together yet. They won't tie. Now you have to bring this offline again. There is a PowerShell script I'll explain in detail. No need to worry. It's simple. We have the PowerShell module yet to be discussed. There I'll explain about the PowerShell little bit to make you understand. But still here, okay, let me explain in the notepad and then make it what it is kind of. So basically, what did I copy the whole thing? Oh, okay, these two are not required. It's useless. Fine. Now, what is a cluster network name? You have to update this is called variable. We are keeping the values in the variable and at the end we are calling the variables. I'll explain it. So cluster network name. What is a cluster network name? You can go to here, networks. Here is a network and click on, uh, come on, what happened? Right click. Oh, here it is, network, cluster network. Go to here, properties. This is a cluster network name. Pick up that name. Cluster network name. Oh, why I'm going out of it? We have the notepad here. So this is the cluster network name. What is a IP resource name? What is a cluster IP resource name? It is asking. Go to here, go to this, and this basically are this. Okay, not here. We don't have network for this. Not here. Then here. Cluster network name. Here, I guess. To the listener, it will. Okay, this is the cluster listener network name basically. See here, IP address of and a cluster network name. So I need to update that here. It must match. If not, it will not work. And then what is the load balancer IP we have given that we need to update here? The listener IP 172.16.2.10. This is IP. So we know how this variable how came up, right? Cluster network name, IP resource name, and load balancer IP. Now import module failover cluster. Without this, you cannot run this command. Get a cluster resource, and we are calling IP resource name. IP resource name is this, and set cluster parameter multiple. So this is something a command. You have to update it. So what is our IP address? The IP address is there in the like ILB IP. So okay, prop port. I have not done it. That is I have to do now. So come to here. So backend pools. This must be done in the load balancer. Load balancer is just a name, but load balancer should be binded with the machines, right? So we have done this backend pools. Go to here. So we need to add the machines here. So backend pools. So we created availability set. What is our availability set? SQL VM AV set. So under that we added two machines. I mean two machines SQL VM01, VM02. We need to add that to route the traffic properly. It must be added. Watch the video carefully and do it if you are confusing a little bit. This is we have done. So I'm adding the backend pool, the SQL VMs, both are SQL VMs. Okay. Then I'll do the health prop. Health prop means which one is up, which one is down. You should know which one is primary, which one is secondary to route traffic through the listener. This is a bit tricky configuration. Just watch the video. Right. Initial days, we actually spend a lot of time to configure this. Cloud VMs, AG configuration with the cloud VMs. It took roughly 15 days to figure out. In the initial days, Microsoft was also not much helpful here. They have given some logs, what they have written, and then somehow we eventually figured it out. I'm explaining everything ready-made knowledge for you guys. Health probe. You need to hire the health probe to do the, like internal check whether the machine is up or not, which machine is primary, where to traffic, route the traffic and all. So, and TCP, actually, you will give the health probe port is this for the, generally we use this, I mean, for any kind of thing in the, see, this port is being used. This port is being used for the probe, so you can use any port basically. It's not only that. That's standard port for the probing the machines in the background. So that's why we use this. But you can use any port. The same port should be updated in the PowerShell script. And every 5 minutes, 5 seconds, it will check. And every two intervals, if it is not responding, then it will do the see. Second is read only, you cannot write. So it is not accepting for read and write. So all connections will route to the primary, not to the secondary, using this health probe. Next, load balancing rules. Load balancing rule, nothing you have to do. All will be picked up. Just give a name and then hit it OK. All right, it is done. Load, whatever it is, doesn't matter much. It picked up all the details automatically. Okay, this port is not 80 here. The port is 1433. SQL Server port, backend port. It's probing the SQL Server, basically, on 1433 port that you need to change. And you need to check this as well. Okay, right, that's correct. Right, we are done with it. Now, come to this script. So, we know these parameters, how they came up, right? Now, I'm calling only the parameters here. We are calling the load balancer IP and the probe port what we updated. Subnet mask is something 255./24, right? 255.255.0. So network is a cluster network. Cluster network we know and we are given in the variable. The same thing is calling up. Enable DHCP? No, we don't enable the DHCP because we are given the manual IPs. So see all the parameters have been we know that. So this is you get it from the Microsoft website, the script to bind between the load balancer and the listener. This is the official script. Microsoft is updated, so you can get it from there. So we got it from there itself. So now I'll do this. I'll run this script. If I run this script, both will bind together. So take up this script, go to the PowerShell. So when you do that, basically this service should be down. So let bring it up, and then it will give the warning. This service client access point service should be down basically. So if I run it as it is, see, I pasted it. If I try to do this, see, warning. There is a warning. The properties were stored, but not all changes will take effect until the IP address is taken offline and then online again. So this is asking to bring this offline, basically, bringing it offline. Now I'll run the same command, assume case. It does not give any issues now. It is done. It did not give the warning now. It is done. So now what I have to do, come to the this thing and bring it up. So yes, come to the SQL Server. We don't have the listener yet, so I'll get the listener from there automatically. So how do we get it? So go to the this properties, dependencies, and here you make SQL AG group. Not here, then we need to add it here. In the dependencies, we need to add that dependency SQL AG. In the SQL binder, this is a binder basically. Oh, this is not. Now, is it fine? Is it fine? My voice is fine now?
Yes, Ravindra.
Okay, thanks for the update. So now what I'm trying to do is try to understand, guys. This is very simple. We created a SQL binder, SQL AG group name. SQL AG group name does not do anything, but it is kind of a binder. It is binding the nodes, it binding the databases together. So whatever you're seeing it here, this is the one as an ultimate thing. Under this, you have your nodes, you have your AD databases and listener. So under this, we created a client access point here. This is the client access point. We created manually like this. Went here and then add resource client access point. And when you after that, you have given the load balancer IP. That's good enough. It is binded as well. Now go to the SQL group name properties. Here, what? Not here. Go to the properties and the dependencies. You need to add this SQL AG and apply. As soon as you apply this, you'll get the listener automatically here. See, SQL AG. Now the listener name will become the SQL AG. People will connect, the application people will connect SQL AG itself. See, this is the listener for us now. Now if I create a database here, it will reflect on that automatically. So I created here, you will see the database here automatically. See, class. Now if I wanted to connect to the SQL VM02, yes, I can connect. And this will have only one database at the moment, the test. Now what I'll do for the sake of understanding, I'll do the failover. So when I do the failover, this will show only one database. Why? Because the secondary will become the primary, and then this class database will move to other one. It will not show up on the listener. So failover, hit next, next, connect. Who is doing the failover? I just need to give that, finish. It's doing the failover. As soon as the failover is done, this was showing class. Now anymore it doesn't show it. Why? Because it is connected to the different primary now. It's taking time. Alright, so if you go to here, see, only one database. And this is a primary now. This is secondary. You can see that it is secondary SQL VM01. Now if I go to AlwaysOn configuration, if I check this, and then this is the primary. If I do the failover back again, it will move there. So if I wanted to add an extra database to the existing always on. Well, how do I do it? The class is not into the AG, right? So why this is like this? Yeah. So I'll do the fail back again. We're done. This is what end result. So now this is the primary now. This is the primary for us. Now I can add the databases from the primary. So this is one primary. I wanted to add class database as well. Before you add, it must have a one full backup. If not, let's see what happens. If I'm going to here, add database, new, and here, full backup is required. It is not letting us to select full backup. Minimum, you need to run one full backup before you add a database into the AG. It's mandatory. So I'm just running it. Fine. Now I'm going to add that database into the AG group. Simple. Very, very simple it is. So this is the backup where it is taking yes. And connect. That's it. It has been added. See? And you will see both of the servers are having this database and they are synchronized. Class test, and here also second. This is second node SQL VM02. Now if I refresh, see both are synchronized. So I would ask a question. If I have a database already in AG, I wanted to restore from other server to this AG server on the same existing AG database. So what is the process? Anybody knows?
You need to remove database from AG groups. Then only you can
Right,
use.
that's correct. You need to remove the database first and then restore it on that one. Remove means very simple. Just click this, then it will become a like a out of AG database. Okay. Then you restore whatever you wanted to restore and then take one full backup and then delete the database and the target because it will be there in restoring mode like this. Once you remove, and second it will be still there. Okay, so you have to delete that database and then resync it, like re-add it. It's like that. This is the process. And can I delete the database which is in AG group? This was we have done in the past. Here we cannot do it. It will throw the error. Database is currently joined availability group. Before you can drop database, you need to remove it from the availability group. So that's what he's saying. So you cannot delete database if it is in AG. If you wanted to delete, you have to remove from AG and delete. It's like that. That's all.
So
If you
Ravindra,
have
we
any,
cannot. Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, Ravindra, we cannot create listener like no in on-prem
Like
servers, right?
on-prem. No,
In
no. If you do that, when you do the failover, it won't even connect actually properly. There are a lot of issues. It might work temporarily, but it will give a lot of issues, connectivity issues. That's how the cloud is made. You have to pass through this stage, this script only. So let me explain very quickly what I have done. So first, we created three servers here. Create one resource group, created a VNet, two subnets. One for the, like VNet address is this, subnet, okay. If you wanted me to update this, I'll update it. Come on, what and all we have done. Once network we created in the beginning. This is the network we created, right? And then AD subnet. Uh, 1.0/24 and SQL subnet we created 2.0. Create one availability set. Availability set is required for the SQL VM servers. So we created SQL VM something AV SQL VM AV set something, AV set availability set something like that, and then add the machines to availability set. Create a VM for the Azure AD, I mean AD server. We have done that. And domain controller, so we added the AD server and created the AD service and added the domain, all that. And then we created SQL, we created one account for SQL DBA, right? AD admin, one account for the configuration of the machines. We have given create a computer object permission on the AD level, and these two are the service account. Create two SQL Server VMs, then add them to availability set during the creation. We did that, and local admin is this. When we are creating itself, Ravinder was a local admin. Change the preferred DNS IP to the domain IP. Like we have changed the IPs in the machines. If you remember, then only we are able to add into the domain. So here we went here and then we change the domain IP. Watch the video sequentially, you'll get it. So this is what we updated. That is what it is saying, this step. Add the VMs to domain. DNS after that, and then configure the Windows cluster group, install the SQL Server on both VMs, enable the always on at service level, and configure the load balancer connection. Once that is done, then do the binding using this. Okay, so I'm going to send this across. It is not giving all the details what we have done, but you watch the video and do it. It will tell you. So anybody have any questions on the always on group? So this is a good time to ask if you have any questions, any kind of question on the always on. I can explain because we have the ready configuration with. It's not only about the cloud. If you are working on on-prem also, if you have any questions, let me know on the always on. So if at all you wanted to monitor this, what do you do? Go to here and dashboard. How do we monitor the AG? Basically like this. Yeah, someone trying to ask a question? Let me know.
Uh, from the interview perspective, like, will they ask like any challenges while configuring, like, which like mostly will be asked from that
Uh,
perspective, Ravindra?
There is nothing actually, AG is a quite simple thing. You have to do the two standalones, enable the service, and then you need to have a service accounts that is mandatory on both the domain service accounts. If not, the AG will not form. And database must be in full recovery model. Database backup should be done. Then no issues with this, basically. And the service account should be local administrative group. If we do take care of this prerequisites, it will not give any error, basically. You can explain this. If you get any errors, what do you do? So these are the prerequisites we need to take care of before you configure. It will not give you any error, basically. You can explain that way. It is a pretty straightforward configuration. No issues at
Okay.
all.
Okay.
And they might ask you, how do you add an extra database? Like, like we can go to the, SQL AG group and then expand the database section availability and then go to here and then add a new database, and the database must be full recovery model and must be have a full backup before we add. And you can explain that part. And then how do you restore a database which is already there in AG? So take out the database from the AG group and then restore and take the full backup again, add it back to the AG group. Before you add, you have to delete the database on the secondary server because it is already there, because you already had, right, before you start a restore. So that's why you have to delete and re-add. The process you have to explain. Any other questions from anyone? If you
Any
have anything
DMVs,
in,
any
uh-huh.
DMVs that are to be used, or like on a day-to-day basis for this?
No
No.
need to use any DMV. There are many inbuilt reports for
Yeah.
instead of using the DMVs. Let me explain. So example, if you want to know how much data is pending to apply to the secondary, how fast data is moving, the DMVs also will show all that data itself. But you have the everything is here. What do you wanted to see? This data only DMVs will show us. So log send queue.
Exactly.
So send rate, how much? Read queue. This is something. Send queue means it is in the primary server. It is still yet to be sent it to the secondary. Send rate, how much data it is sending, how much data is in the secondary redo queue to apply to the secondary database. Redo rate, how much it is applying at the per second case. So these are all will shown by the DMVs, nothing much. If I wanted to add all of these, I can add. So like this, I can just click on that. It'll keep adding your columns, and this will show how much data is spending when it is not out. If when it goes out of sync, how much data is accumulated, how much data is there in the log file, why we are not able to sync the log file. You come to here, it will show it. All DMVs will show this the information itself, nothing much. You have the all these columns, you just add it, you'll get it.
So we do not need to memorize the DMVs.
Right,
Just
you who
adding
will memorize? Even I
columns.
don't remember all that.
Yeah.
You have, when
Okay.
you have a ready-made thing, why you won't go for the DMVs? Useless.
Right. In
Yeah,
a
any more
general
questions?
tendency, they say that like other than using the UI, like running the query, will
You can tell them that I don't
decrease the
remember.
load.
Even see, when you have a ready-made thing in your hand, why do you remember? So there are many DMVs for the AG as well. Those will show only this data only. Other than this, nothing.
Okay.
So you can tell that way. So I have ready-made report. Why should I remember? If I have to remember all the big DMVs on my noted, I don't need to mug. I don't mug up. But if I have it, I have in my environment. I'll just run it. You can blunt. It should be blunt. If you are blunt, everybody can believe it. Don't beat around the bush. Like I use, but I forgot all that. You know, that is a nonsense. Like you have your data and you're using it to get the outputs, but it's not someone can memorize everything and the longest DMV names basically. So that way you can explain. Any other questions from anyone?
Maybe same way we can monitor in SQL Azure Pass only, right? Same way we can monitor the AG status in Azure Pass.
In AG pass, you don't have like this kind of thing. You have databases never go out of sync. There is no such issue at all. If it goes out of sync just only for the network issue, there will be no database. We never seen any complaints in the past AG, and you don't have this kind of dashboard for the past AG servers. The dashboard itself is go to the server, go to the managed groups, and then click on that. It will show what database are there and what is the status of each database. That itself is a dashboard there.
There is no dashboard like the on-prem server, right?
Right. We don't have dashboard. That is everything is in the cloud, basically. So when you connect, you can see it actually. But in the cloud, even like AG database also can be deleted. That is also keep in mind. That won't be protected against deletions.
Ravindra Abhishek here.
Yeah, Abhishek, go ahead.
Uh, any steps or something to do if listener is not working properly?
You need to make sure the steps, what you performed, like if it is not working, you miss somewhere something. If you follow the whole video in a sequential order, it will work. For sure it will, because we configured on many servers in the cloud. So that's why I am able to, moving very fast and doing all this, because I did many times in my environment. So if it is not working, you might not bind it properly, the script part, or else you have not configured the IP listener IP, as well as the load balancer if is not matching something. Something is messed up, definitely for sure. It will work because it's a proved activity we already done many times.
Okay.
So initial days we struggled. Seriously, we took a lot of calls with the Microsoft. Microsoft also do that, do this and all. We took time to understand this. But what I'm doing here is the ready-made knowledge for you all.
Are there
Do
any
this way.
scenarios where listener goes down?
Listener, see, it is coming from the past service. It's not from your service. If you wanted to stop, yes, you can stop. It can go down. Basically, another case it never go down because the past service. It is, if this is goes down, then you cannot do anything. If I stop this, then whole AG will be down. It's a Windows service basically. Windows AG group service basically it is. So if you stop it, even the load balancer is up, it does not do anything. Why? Because the whole group is down. So if someone is doing this, then there will be an issues, of course. But nobody does this kind of things in the production. Production is something we will always go with the RFCs when we do the operations, all that, right? So no such things can happen in the production area.
Okay.
No down, no down case. Should not happen. See, down in the sense you're making it down, something down. What is you're making it down? Load balancer cannot go down. It's a PaaS service. What can be down? Windows services. Windows services down, then load balancer cannot coordinate basically. If it is not coordinating, you need to bring up the Windows services up, then it will coordinate. That's how the issues can be identified. It's all interdependent, right? So you have to come step by step process. Yes, there could be some service down. You need to find out why it is down, what is the problem, just to figure it out and then fix it. It's like that. Any questions, guys? I'm closing it off. And I cannot do all this configuration again to just to discuss your question because the configuration is ready. If you ask any question, I can just go ahead and discuss and move it on. I mean, right now I discuss most of the stuff, but if you have anything in your mind, you can ask. Easy is very, very simple technology, actually. Okay, that's all. If you don't have question, I'm going to close.